Today, we will introduce the 5 major cradles of civilization along a timeline from morning to night. Okay, first up is Mesopotamian civilization. The Mesopotamian civilization originated on the eastern side of the Mediterranean Sea. There are 2 mighty rivers here, the Euphrates and Tigris rivers. These 2 rivers flow almost parallelly towards the south and form a vast floodplain along their banks, eventually merging into the Persian Gulf. This plain formed by these 2 rivers is called the Mesopotamian Plain. The indigenous people of this plain are known as Sumerians. Thanks to their unique natural environment, the Sumerians entered an agricultural society as early as between Liu Chen BC and Sichen BC. As more and more people gathered together, cities gradually formed, both big and small. To facilitate communication and trade among these city dwellers, around 1010 Wubai BC, they invented cuneiform script, the earliest form of writing in human history. Then other ethnic groups such as Semites and Akkadians also settled here and established their own cities. As society developed and population increased, land became insufficient, leading to conflicts with neighbors over territory. Thus, these cities transformed into small states with governments and armies, known as city-gen states. City-gen states fought each other for resources, leading to wars and annexations. Over time, larger state formations emerged which we call empires. Around Laotian Sembai BC, a Semitic city-gen state called Akkad rapidly expanded through conquests to become the first empire in human history. Now let's take a look at this timeline. Mesopotamian civilization formed early cities between Liu Chen BC and Sichen BC, invented writing around Senchen Wubai BC, and established an empire by Laotian Sembai BC. So it is undoubtedly the earliest civilization without question. Next up is ancient Egyptian civilization. We already know that Mesopotamian civilization originated on the eastern side of the Mediterranean Sea. The ancient Egyptian civilization is right next to it, located on the southeastern side of the Mediterranean. There is also a great river here, the Nile River, which is the longest in the world. Like the Mesopotamian plain, the Nile River forms a vast floodplain along its banks. So, like the Sumerians, ancient Egyptians relied on their unique natural environment and entered an agricultural society between Liu Chen BC and Sichen BC. Along the Nile, many small cities and states formed, either in the upper river valley or at the delta where the river meets the sea. Historians refer to these 2 regions as Upper Egypt and Lower Egypt respectively. Around Senchen Wubai BC, ancient Egyptians also invented writing. In about Senchen Yibai Bashaba BC, Pharaoh Menes unified Upper and Lower Egypt into a single kingdom. Unlike Mesopotamian civilization, which was composed of many different ethnic civilizations, the Sumerian civilization gradually disappeared around Laotian BC and was replaced by Babylonian and Assyrian ones. However, ancient Egyptians seem to have an extended battery mode as their kingdom persisted along the Nile for nearly 13 years through Senussid dynasties, until it was eventually occupied by Arabs in the 10th century AD. From a timeline perspective, ancient Egyptian civilization also formed small states between Liu Chen BC and Sichen BC, invented writing around Senchen Wubai BC, so it should be on par with Mesopotamian civilization as one of the earliest civilizations. Ancient Indian civilization is located in South Asia. There are 2 major rivers here, the Indus River and Saraswati River. Along these rivers, large floodplains were formed. Relying on these great rivers for nourishment, ancient Indians also established many small city-gen states along them. The formation and development process was similar to the first 2 civilizations but slightly later in time, around Senchen Sembai BC. Ancient Indian civilization reached its peak between Laotian Liubai BC and Iten-Jobai BC, with the largest city-gen state being Mohenjo-Daro. However, until Ichen Senbai BC, when it mysteriously vanished, no city-gen state had reached the scale of an empire. From a chronological perspective, ancient Indian civilization is slightly later than Mesopotamian and ancient Egyptian civilizations, so it ranks 3rd. 4th is Chinese civilization. We are very familiar with our own civilization. China also has its 2 cores, the Yangtze River and Yellow River. Chinese civilization was born under the nourishment of these rivers. Most Chinese believe that the legendary Xia dynasty already had a state form, dating back to around Liaoqian BC. So Chinese civilization can be traced back to slightly later than ancient Indian civilization. Of course, some people think that the Xia dynasty was just a tribal alliance and not a true national government. This is beyond our discussion today. In summary, from this timeline perspective, Chinese civilization can be dated back to around Liaoqian BC, with writing invented during the Shang dynasty between the Shiliu 10th century BC and Shi and Shi TC. The territory and population controlled by the Shang dynasty definitely reached the scale of an empire. So far, we have introduced four major cradles of civilization. Do you notice any patterns? The Euphrates and Tigris rivers nurtured Mesopotamian civilization. The Nile River nurtured ancient Egyptian civilization. And the Indus and Saraswati rivers nurtured ancient Indian civilization. The Yangtze and Yellow rivers nurtured the Chinese civilization. These four major civilizations were all born from great rivers, so then historians 干脆将这几个仰赖大河滋养诞生的文明统称为大河文明了。This big river civilization is actually what China calls its four great ancient civilizations. When we get to this point here, some of you guys might have already guessed why one of the five cradles of civilization was kicked out by us. Because AS is not a big river civilization. So who is this ancient civilization that isn't a big river civilization? It is ancient Greece. 5. Ancient Greek civilization. The ancient Greek civilization went through several different periods. In terms of time, almost exactly the same as Chinese civilization, can be traced back to around Liaoqian BC. But the ancient Greek civilization wasn't born relying on rivers for nourishment, but rather it was born relying on the sea. Not a river civilization but an ocean civilization. The earliest urban settlements of big river civilizations were all distributed along rivers, while those of the ancient Greek civilization were located on islands and by the seaside. From such a cultural environment, the countries formed would definitely have completely different political organizational forms, economic models, and expansion modes compared to river civilizations. We expand by constantly swallowing our neighbors, while they expand by colonizing all over the world. Our economy is mainly self-gen sufficient small-gen scale farming, whereas their development of the economy involves trading with people all around the world, exchanging goods. So our way of life, thinking patterns, and ideologies must also be different from theirs. And this is actually the difference between Eastern civilization and Western civilization. Looking at it from the source of civilization, we are two completely different models. Cultural genes fundamentally aren't the same.